Auras, a common character trope within any anime series to demonstrate power, dominance, and character identity. Whilst in real life, aura has now been chopped up to whether or not you can land a bottle flip, or if you get rejected by your longtime crush because you ain't packing. Within BlueLock, however, it's to show a grade of evolution, development, and self-discovery. So today, I will be going through every single character aura that has been shown in the series, ranking them from S to C, S being peak, and C being quite forgetful or uninspiring. If you're all excited to watch this video and want to see more, hit that like and subscribe button. Support is greatly appreciated as my hyperfixation on BlueLock never seems to end. I also have a BlueLock Discord in which you can join if you're interested, a link will be left down below. With all that out the way, let's begin with our rankings. Isagi has a definite standout aura, one that takes a concept so simple and amplifies its level of creativity and intensity. Whilst yes, we know Isagi's aura colour is what people refer to as uh-oh, stinky. However, his puzzle piece aura is simply impeccable in execution and can be used in a lot of creative ways that I would never actually think of. Puzzle pieces that literally make up his entire body, puzzle pieces making up the scenery around him, and even puzzle piece variant eyes for his metavision ability. All aspects of this aura are just really well done, and you can tell that they needed to take immense creative liberties with Isagi if his aura was going to be something as simple as puzzle pieces. Even in the anime, the presentation of Isagi's aura is always so well done, and it's also absolutely perfect in representing the type of character that he is. An adaptive talented learner who has re-evaluated and reconstructed himself on many occasions. So much so, he's taking an even bigger step by returning to zero in the latest manga chapters, which discovered his true flow state and ego. And for that level of effort into something so simplistic compared to the other characters' auras, I will definitely be giving this an easy S tier. Bachira has a special place in my heart. Deemed to be such a vital character in the series, it was his aura that was the first aura to be introduced in the series, starting a long line of amazingly creative themes. Bachira, amongst all these newly introduced auras, still stands amongst them as one of the best in both design and execution, because as we know there is a whole ass story behind it that people definitely need to check out my analysis of the monster of Megalu Bachira video to find out more details. Over time, Bachira has become more embracive of his aura, having the aura being a part of his very being when tapping into his flow state, where his monster becomes more of a glowing manifestation instead of its original ink appearance. Overall, I will be ranking this aura an A, purely basing off the current variant and evolution of his aura. Since it hasn't been showcased enough for me to put it any higher, I think A is a very solid tier for it. Barou and his king-like level of egoism strives for only his own hard work to produce the goals for whatever team he plays on. Starting off, he had a lion aura, the lion representing the king aspect, as lions are commonly referred to as the king of the jungle. Don't believe me? Here's proof. How about all of the Lion King? Upon being challenged further by Isagi and Nagi's main character energy, Barou decided he's a bad bitch and awakened his current aura, Red Lightning. Of course, the aura line is still present, but this aura is Barou favouring his villainous style of play, devouring the light from the main stage actors to engulf the field in darkness. Yeah, this aura is badass, and it's especially so when paired with Barou's ability of Predator's Eye. It makes for some extremely powerful and impactful moments, so for that I will put it in A tier. Fun little fact about Chigiri, his jersey number is number 4 and he was ranked at 4th place on BluelockC's popularity poll in 2020, relating the two forced together to make the 44-degree Panther Snipe. Just a fun bit of analysis, but speaking of Panther Snipe, Panther is Chigiri's aura animal. Instead of manifesting this from the very beginning like Barou, Chigiri obtained the Panther-like aura during the second selection to pair with his very conventional mist aura that usually goes around a lot of the players with lesser importance. But Chigiri's Panther thankfully makes him stand out and represents his ability and way of playing. A speedster who is known to dominate in his environment, which is most commonly the wings of the field. I do like his Panther aura, but what makes Chigiri so good is the stylization of how his speed is showcased rather than the aura itself. So likely against everyone's better judgment, I will put the princess's aura at B. It's good, don't get me wrong, but I don't see much innovation going towards his aura outside of him being a classic Billy and Bobby joke from Happy Wheels. Okay, I don't think it's unfair to say that Kunigami's aura is boring. If you think his aura is actually the wildcard aura, you're sadly mistaken, as this was actually fan-made art. Kunigami's aura is this orange steam that comes off his body when seemingly putting in an immense amount of effort. Whilst I like his character from hero to anti-hero, he has one of the most uninspiring auras in the entire series, which I will place it at C for. Nagi's aura is complicated. It's frequently depicted as the death aura through the use of dark coloured skulls surrounding him, or sometimes visually being a part of his body. But then other times he has this almost galaxy-like aura representing the void and the cosmos, with the most used colours being a mix of white, black, blue and purple, which makes it only even more confusing when giving him a million different eye colours. However, this aura, as weirdly inconsistent that it is, still is a really badass aura that really brings a whole new meaning to, man, I'm dead. It's especially done favours as BlueLock creators and animators alike love to give Nagi a lot of budget when it comes to his style. And what can I say? I'm a biased bitch whose favourite character is Nagi, so I will be giving this aura an S tier. Could have been very easy to fuck up an aura on one of my favourite characters, so I'm very glad that they didn't. Ryo had one of the sickest introduction to her latest evolution, period. Very well represented in the anime, and most importantly, an extremely cool conceptual idea. They could have gone down the easy copycat route by just giving him a cat aura, but chameleon makes a lot more sense. Not to mention the scales of his chameleon aura forms the auras of other players he is copying, such as Oliver Aiku's Viper and Isagi's puzzle panels when obtaining metavision for the first time. That's just badass. It also plays as another variant of disassembly auras that visually create the individuals such as Isagi's puzzle pieces to form the actual person in the center of the aura. And these kinds of auras are most definitely my favorite kind, so for all of that, Ryo's aura gets an easy S tier. We will be talking about Rin again later, as he has two auras that are a lot different in visual demonstration that I had to place as a separate slot on the list. Even with this aura, there's two aspects of it that are completely different but both represent his personality and playstyle super well. The water aura we first see in the series represents his overall calm and calculated playstyle, with his main striking weapon being gentle arcs that flow much like water. It also demonstrates a sense of replication of his brother, not in terms of aura, but in terms of beautiful playstyles who seek to destroy their opponents in an elegant fashion. Then further on in the series, we discover Rin's puppet control playstyle of football that manifests in a separate aura for the second time we see Rin Itoshi play. The aura represents control and better showcases the position that Rin holds at the top of BlueLock's rankings for most of the series. And in an actual match, gameplay wise, Rin utilizes his puppet control so his teammates can fall to his every whim. And only the players who escape this immense control of their teammates utilizing them and actually pose themselves to be rivals of Rin are Isagi and Shidou. Everyone else so far has fallen into the hand of manipulation by the puppet master playstyle of Rin, and that's just badass. It gives us deeper meaning behind being the captain of BlueLock's team of 11 in the U20 match, and why he can't foresee someone like Shidou and Isagi, both of which have made unexpected plays outside of his own realm of mental possibility. Barou can fall under that same category of players too if we really want to go in line with irrational plays. And yes, this variant of Rin was very much a more rational player. Of course, that was seemingly less of his natural playstyle, so it was sought out as a tactic to beat his older brother at his own game or outclass him in a rational sense, because he thought that this way would provide him the best results, seeing the immense amount of skill his brother plays with in this mindset. Before I go into hyper analysis that I will definitely look to do in a future video, I will rank this aura an A. It has great storytelling, but it's not as interesting or visually striking as his current aura. When was the last time anyone talked about Tokimitsu? His slime aura is just one of the most forgetful manifested auras we see in the series. Every other character would have a forgetful aura either due to being a variant of coloured mist, or if you're the Wanama brothers. Speaking of which, the Wanama brothers would get a B tier. Anyway, Tokimitsu's aura is this dark and almost scary like colour and substance representing how much of a pussy he is. I'm not being insensitive to his anxiety, he just needs to stop being anxious. So honestly, skill issue. We had this aura primarily showcased to us in the second selection, and that's pretty much it. I can somewhat appreciate the variety, but now we have just a much better disgusting variant of this kind of aura with Rin that once again I will get to later. So for that reason, this aura is getting a C. It's fitting but just underwhelming and forgetful. Shidou has one of the coolest auras in the series. There, I said it. There's no denying his presentation is just awesome, and thanks to the anime especially, it has bumped him up on my favourite character rankings. Demon Wings stylized to be interpreted also as Dragon Wings to better fit his ability is very thoughtful. The colour of his aura is just so eye-catching, which is exactly why he is front and centre on the thumbnail of this video, plus it perfectly represents the bombastic plays he commits himself to do out of pure instinct and desire. What's stunning is that one of my favourite goals of the series, that being the Big Bang Drive, Shidou's wings represent him practically taking flight when entering into his flow state. The anime, as I've mentioned in a previous video, has done really well in representing Shidou incredibly, and it's because of Shidou's character and overall presentation that I personally believed him to have saved Blue Lock Season 2 for me. Well, that's until the last episode aired. Overall, I will be ranking this aura an S tier. Lower your pitchforks, Shidou fans. Crows are known to be smart and tricky, using plans to outsmart and snuff out prey, which relates to Karasu using his tactics to section off opponents and reduce them to nothing, allowing for his reach to control the space around him as he feels. This makes his superiority in ball keeping make sense when he is naturally able to utilize his skill set to outwit the opposition. It's also no surprise that Karasu's name means crow, so you can't deny it's a fitting name and an aura for someone with this kind of playstyle. And because I'm biased to the Raven family, I will put this aura in an A tier. This will be one of my shorter ones. It's self-explanatory when I say he's a ninja and uses a playstyle helpful in sneakily getting the upper hand over not so observant players, but if being honest, the representation of this aura is kind of boring. It's much easier to make a ninja aura fit with a character specifically crafted to look like a ninja, but Otoya doesn't have a creative representation of his aura, so it doesn't dazzle me, and for that reason it will go in C tier. I wasn't even going to talk about Yukimiya's aura for the grand scheme of it being nothing more than a Kunigami copy, but there is an idea to it that makes sense. Yukimiya is commonly depicted with orange flames in his eyes when he's fired up, but as we all know, the more stamina that he exerts trying to stay in the game and play, the more he loses his vision, which when noticing the flames in his eyes, you could say that the aura represents burning effects, a damaging drawback to Yukimiya's decision to play football, and much like a bomb fuse ignited by a flame, he is against the timer in how quick he can become best in the world. Every single inconvenience and drawback further annoys him, not because he's petty or jealous, but because he knows each second wasted is a second more valuable to him than anyone else's remaining time. I've grown to appreciate the aura, but it's still not as big of a standout, so I will put it at B tier, because I mean, it's not fitting at all to put it in C when Yukimiya can't.
So, you gonna take a swing? Or are you just gonna stand there staring into my eyes?
What was that? I was busy staring into your eyes.
No surprise here, Aiku's aura is badass. I especially appreciate the artwork of this character giving his snake heterochromia eyes just like him. Certain snakes like cobras are known as restrictors, making their opponents naturally weaker with their influence, and also a majority of snakes are known for unknowingly striking much like Aiku, which plays well into the theming of Aiku as a high level defender, and also in line to having more of the predator aura animal for being a striker at some points in his career. Also, a snake is fitting since he seemingly doesn't know how to keep the snake in his fucking pants. I do not like the red colour his snake was given in the anime, but it's due to the representation of being on the enemy team. But I am looking forward to how they will present his aura going forward, but for now, I will be ranking it as an A tier. Nico's aura has gotten better with time. Being what's known as B-Tech Isagi, he has comfortably found his place in Blue Lock as a defender, which of course presents his Watchtower aura, as well as Nico now having the obtainment of Metavision to better fit in that position. Our only Blue Lock player to have officially played striker, midfield, and defense. I do believe the analysis and his ability to shut down defenders makes his Watchtower aura very fitting. But there aren't many creative liberties taken here. However, the anime has done well representing his aura, which I'll give props to, and provide Nico's aura a B tier. What's weird to me is that a lot of the Blue Lock community unanimously agreed that Hiyori's aura was glass shattering, but then we get the confirmation from the anime that it's actually ice from the visualization of a snowflake on the field when he's playing during the U20 match. Do I prefer this? Well, there's more creativity that I believe can come out of this by comparison, and it does match his design more. A delicate life quite like a snowflake with the reason to be cold. His sense of reality can break like ice, and he uses football as a method to keep his parents from breaking up, but in the process is quickly losing his sense of motivation, much like how ice and snow under the heat can melt away. But then Hiyori can once again regain his structure within an environment he can have control over, bringing that sense of winter to the field to stay thriving. Yeah, I've convinced myself this aura is definitely worth an A tier. Can't wait to see how the ice shattering is done in season 3. Okay, so this likely needs a bit more explanation than just a surface level appreciation. In mathematics, the Fibonacci sequence is a sequence in which each number is the sum of two numbers that precede it. Numbers that are part of the Fibonacci sequence are known as Fibonacci numbers. Of course there's proof of this, but I'll give an example for anyone who needs it. We start from 0, next we have 1, and of course 0 plus 1 equals 1, which is why the number that follows this order is another 1, but now the number before it is also a 1, so now the equation is 1 plus 1, which makes 2. Whatever your two most recent numbers are added together starting from 0 and 1, that is the next number in the Fibonacci sequence. Yeah, I can't believe you're being taught math in a BlueLock video as well. Naturally, this sequence can construct what's known as the golden ratio. The golden ratio is a ratio between two numbers that equal approximately 1.618, usually written as the Greek letter pi. It is strongly associated with the Fibonacci sequence, a series of numbers wherein each number is added to the last. To further explain why Sai has been given this aura, he's said to be able to destroy things beautifully, and the proportion of 1.618 to 1 believed to provide the blueprint to what constitutes as a harmoniously proportioned face. Sai uses this very same beautiful sequence to represent his playstyle when passing or destroying his rivals. This is one of the most elaborately planned auras ever made, and I also think this aura can never be represented honorably in the anime, as 8-bit have shown that they just chop a random assortment of interchangeable digits instead of any precise sequence, so basically ruining the entire purpose of his aura in the anime. However, this aura is incredibly complex and spectacular to study in the manga. This level of attention to detail honestly just makes me super giddy, so I'm going to easily put this aura in S tier. I will not apologize for providing you all with valuable information. Make no mistake, Ren's aura is somewhat water, but now it has much more of a complex representation than merely being the easily alternating and transformative flexibility of his original aura, where he seeks to replicate his brother's beautiful style of destroying players. Upon the pure desire of wanting to destroy his older brother in the U20 game, it's clear that Ren's true ego was born behind restrictions that couldn't let him sink deeper into the depths of his true self, as he was always seeking to imitate his brother, accepting his second best nature, and in the process his whole structure was incomplete. However, now we see the results of what happens when Rin embraces this destruction, the depths of his water spawning amalgamations feared by many, as it's unknown to us what lurks at the bottom of the ocean. You can't predict what you don't know, which is a reason to why Isagi felt so frightened that Rin didn't shoot for an easier goal scoring opportunity in the Bastard Munich vs PXG game. Furthermore, his destruction and water coincide through dangerous natural disasters like tsunamis, floods, and general storms. Those natural disasters representing the destruction of things hideously, which in turn gives the explanation to Rin's playstyle. There's so much more detail regarding this aura, but that's as simplistic as I can make it. This aura is definitely a creative step up, and a much more badass representation of BlueLock's top player, so this aura will go in S tier. This is where things can vary. Of course, talking about Michael Kaiser again on this channel is always an honor to do, but to truly know what his aura represents rather than what we interpret it to be is something that I cannot do. I am unaware if there's a proper explanation, but I believe I made a good attempt at it. Michael Kaiser's manifested aura stems, from his childhood. The very same blue rose his father kept in a glass container that their mother left them before leaving them. Roses can represent something so beautiful with the petals, but something so tough in the thorns. Equally, the two aspects could link to his parents. His mother could easily be representing the petals, that show her beauty and being a globally loved actress, whilst his father represents the thorns and how dangerous his presence can be without the connection to a beautiful flower, because otherwise those very same thorns can be deemed to be a burden. And it's both those aspects that make up our Blue Rose Emperor Michael Kaiser, a man who is blessed with both beauty and extreme rough edges, linking to the aspect of his father not only being greedy and emotional, but also wanting love and hating yourself in the process. You know the saying, mess with the bull you get the horns? Well, if you were to mess with a rose, such as how we see Isagi on many occasions bite back at Kaiser's challenges, soon Isagi will see firsthand about messing with the rose and you get the thorns. Kaiser to me has this complex aura to be versatile, to allow us to have these thoughts and interpretation of what it truly means, and with such a loaded backstory, I can't help but be appreciative of this character's entire existence. It's why I even got the very same tattoo Kaiser has. To me, this is an amazing aura, and another emphatic S. Ness having the aura of magic relates to his nickname the Magician, being able to directly impact the field of play with his passes that almost seem like magic tricks. Whilst the aura is barely seen, I do like the idea of giving a passer that mental mindset of being the magic caster, and as a result of your magic, if it works, the striker you pass to would score, and if it failed, a striker doesn't have a good representation of that magic you as the Magician are looking for. Which is why Ness was so starstruck by Kaiser. His ability to make such amazing goals with the use of his magic was almost like it was born out of a fantasy, something Ness grew up being ridiculed for in a purposefully logical and statistic based household. His backstory further adds to his aura, but of course, there is not enough personally that we have seen of this aura taking proper form, especially recently with Ness now being on the missing list. So for now, I will be ranking this aura an A tier. Much like Tokimitsu, when was the last time anyone talked in depth about Lavinia? He's got quite the beautiful aura, and it's safe to say it represents the sense of both elegance and grace really well. Through being a dribbler, he would definitely have a fitting manifestation aura, that being a butterfly. To dance and flow around the field so freely, and even taking the opportunities of using other players as your nectar source, such as Isagi when Lavinia and No were matching up. It does fit super well, but the representation of a character with wings looks so much better on Shidou. But maybe that's because we haven't seen Lavinia enough. I'll put Lavinia's aura for now at A tier. He looks the part and he plays the part and he is the part. It's Big Man Don Lorenzo, known as the zombie dribbler because his limbs aren't supposed to bend like that. Whilst dead on the outside, he's filled with love and personality on the inside, representing that undead aspect perfectly. You don't have much else when discussing his aura, besides the fact that he moves and plays like a hungry zombie, through only seeing players he's not close to as the values that they hold, being that last line of defense to snatch up the ball with greed and deliver it to his ace with love. And speaking of love, I do love this aura, but it's not nearly as fleshed out as a lot of the other auras, so I will just be giving it another A tier. Okay, does anyone have an explanation for this? The only one I can immediately think of is Hyori seeing Charles as a final boss, which gives him that very final boss looking ass aura. But aside from that, I have no clue what is going on. Don't get me wrong, it looks very sick, but I have no clue how to comment on this aside from Charles being represented as the final boss to one character, and that's it. I will be giving this aura a B tier, but let me know what you guys think this aura represents in the comments down below. This aura for Loki is very self-explanatory. He's known as the rising star of the U20 players for France, and when it comes down to being the star, he not only seems out of reach on a literal sense, as stars are always seen so far away from us, but also on a metaphorical sense, as being a top star, it's so much harder to reach his level of skill, especially considering the shooting star aspect represents his key ability of Godspeed, as godly levels of power also means you frankly do what's impossible for anyone else who doesn't have your level of power, or in this case, talent. No one else has this immense amount of talent in speed that Loki does, and that talent can then tie back to him being the star on the main stage. Simply put, Loki's aura represents how fast he can zoom, and it's extremely simple but effective, so I'll be giving it an A tier. Okay, this is an aura I have no clue about. Originally, we got this gear-like system to represent Noa. We all originally thought that these mechanical parts was his aura, a machine-like body that allowed him to draw out his max capabilities, and yeah, that's sweet, but in actuality, his real aura is just these shapes, and I have no clue of any way how to explain this to anyone. It feels like an insult to my intelligence. I'm giving it a B. It's a cool enough aura, but I have no context to why it's this. Compared to the original gear representation we saw at the first match of the NEL, this just makes no sense to me. But since it's trendy at the moment, it looks a lot like Squid Games.
Oh, the beans.
Prayer beads makes a lot of sense, and I like how they're represented going around Igiguri's body. It's weird how Igiguri was a character worthy of a manifested aura when I know characters like Gargamaru only have an aura color and no other means of representing their playstyle or abilities. But in any case, this aura does look pretty good, and it's definitely a more creative take on what they could have done with it otherwise. I personally would give this aura a B, but I never knew something with monk beads could slap so hard on a manga cover. We reach our final character of this video. It's been a long one, but now we finally get to talk about the man behind the project himself, Ego Jinpachi. This video was a moment for me to decide what Ego's aura truly is. And as much as he has not shown any manifested aura, maybe the answer to it all was right in front of us all this time. Speculation in my mind points to Ego's aura being BlueLock itself, not just the players, but the entire facility. Think about it. Whilst he stands at the center of the entire project, echoing the very same burning passion that each egoist Egoist holds, he is also the architect of the facility that allowed so many more egoists to be born. His desire to flip Japan on its head and show them a World Cup is the very essence of his being since he stopped playing football for unknown reasons. He played a role not only as a teacher, but as an insane egoist himself, pushing that same mindset onto his players like it's a stake for the greater good of Japanese football. This aura was his manifestation, which leads me to believe it was the very reason why he quit football in the first place. He knew himself as a talented learner that he could not make it on his own to become the world's best striker, as the geniuses he had to compete against flocked the fields in massive groups. So he began to hyperfixate on the world's best striker, Noah. Since he couldn't beat him on his own, he needed an entire project in order to accomplish his goal as Noah's former rival. And that to me led to BlueLock, where he in recent chapters has openly admitted to using the master strikers in order to evolve his players. To see who would thrive in this hellish environment, two players overcame this, and not only did he create a new genius for the world from this pair, he also provided a talented learner much like himself to compete with that genius with just as much determination, if not more, than he once had when rivaling Noah. Auras could also be chopped up to something we can only see, or what the players can best describe as a mental representation of what they believe themselves and other characters to be. But Ego to me accepted his fate and place in the world, and now is the catalyst for many other players' motivations and future professional careers in football. This is pure speculation, so you can disagree with me, but through what I perceive it to be, I would very much rank Ego's aura an S tier. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below what your favourite aura is, and what aura manifestation you would have if you were a player in BlueLock. Thank you all so much for watching, be sure to like and subscribe, and until next time, peace.